What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got my brother B.
What's up, everybody?
We also got my boy Sanj. Any second now. He'll come on soon. So I think he's just getting back from work. So Sanj will join us. He didn't want to miss talking about No Time to Die. So we're definitely going to wait for Sanj before we talk about that there. But listen, man, some of the things we're going to talk about today, we saw a trailer for Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. Welcome to Raccoon City. Welcome to Raccoon City. No?
Is that it? Is that the song?
No, that's a play on the Jay-Z New York City song with Cameron, because we're so New York over here.
Just with zombies.
And we're also going to talk about No Time to Die. We're going to give a review of non-spoiler and a spoiler review of it. And also try to figure out, since this looks like the end of an era there with Daniel Craig's 007, who we might want to see take up the mantle next. So, Brandon, let's just jump into that Resident Evil Raccoon City, or Welcome to Raccoon City, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Trailer just came out last week. It's a Sony property. Sony's doing these things where they're putting out these movies, or I guess it's Capcom also. They're putting out these video game movies into real life. We've had a series of Resident Evil movies that had nothing to do with the video games except some of the bad guys. But it looks like we're actually getting the mansion from the first one. We're getting Chris and Claire, but real Chris and Claire, Redfield. I'll never forget those names. But there was a couple scenes in the trailer that were actually like, oh, this is like right from the game, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But there's also looks a little bit cheesiness going on in there.
It just reminds me of when they tried to redo Silent Hill. Another Capcom installment there. And I'm a big fan of Silent Hill too. The games have a really creepy element to them that just really works. And we all like Resident Evil. I love the Resident Evil saga. And just playing those games, just making I know I'm throwing myself into having a scary situation. I know I'm gonna scream like a little girl, at any moment, at any time playing the game. I turn the corners myself as I'm turning the corner in a video game. They did a good job in those games of really having you anticipate that horror. And so the movies with Mila Jovovich, while incredibly strange, towards the latter half of them, the first one there with the new direction was actually pretty interesting. When they weren't taking, because when we thought the Resident Evil movie, my first thought was they were going to do the mansion. Of
course, yeah.
The logical thing to do. But for them to make an original story using, Mila Jovovich's character, it was very interesting. And I actually thought the scenes were kind of cool, but then after that first movie, we just really lost it. They brought in, was it Nemesis, right?
Yeah, Nemesis.
They brought in Nemesis, but it just once they started giving her powers, and then she lost the powers, and half the movie was in the desert. It was just kind of weird. So seeing this trailer, I feel like the cheesiness in the trailer led to the cheesiness of the time,
Right.
What are you expecting? This is Resident Evil kind of a thing. But then I also think it was awesome to see the mansion while they seem to also be in Raccoon City, doing their thing. So I'm just interested how it's a movie, not a series. Am I correct?
I mean, it looks like it's a movie, but you never know. Most of these things are supposed to be a series.
It looks like a movie to me, so I'm just wondering how they're gonna jump from the mansion to Raccoon City, in a 1.5 to 2 hour time base, because we know the story of the mansion, and that's a big story there, and then Raccoon City alone is a big story. So I'm just wondering how they're gonna play that off. I'm sure they'll do it fine, but then I'm also getting really upset at the casting.
You don't like Robbie Amell?
I don't know if anybody noticed that. Oh, Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield. I think that's a smart move.
Right.
But having, I forget the name of this actor, as Leon S. Kennedy, And my man does not look like a Leon S. Kennedy. And I'm not trying to say in terms of, what people should look like in X, Y, and Z, but I feel like Leon S. Kennedy has a certain look. Like he kind of looks like Guile, Like, I feel like they should have like just put the actual CGI character into the movie because he looks so real in the games alone that I feel like the casting they've given for him is so far from what he looks like that I'm just like, that's not Leon. Like that's not Leon.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
So I'm questionable. It didn't look terrible, but it also I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right, man. And listen, man, joining in now with Sanj with us there. Sanj, we're just talking about the Resident Evil trailer that came out recently for the new movie coming out sometime in the next couple of months. Did you
I
get a
hear you.
chance to watch it? Did you get a chance to watch that trailer?
No, no, no. I
No.
didn't. And honestly, tonight I ain't interested in no trailers. I want to talk about Bond. I was just shaking his head.
Yeah, man. So listen, man, listen, the trailer actually was okay. It wasn't too bad, but at the same time, man, I get where Brandon's coming from. There was a little bit of cheesiness in the trailer, but at the same time, it is Resident Evil, so it's something I'm looking forward to because I've loved the game so much. So I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed on it being one of those sneaky movies that we might like or end up loving for some reason. Because hopefully it's a good movie. Who knows? Who knows, man? But we'll see. Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, man. So listen, man, like we said, man, today's episode is going to be really dedicated to seeing No Time to Die. We're going to talk about what we thought, non-spoiler review, and then we're going to get into the spoilers of it and try to like basically give you guys our thoughts on it. So let's go right in to the No Time to Die there. We'll do non-spoilers first, of course, to give people a chance to pause it and come back if they haven't got a chance to see it. Sanj, man, you said it yourself, man. You're here to talk about No Time to Die. What was your overall thoughts of the movie without spoiling anything?
Without spoiling it, I thought the action scenes were incredible. The best action scenes I've seen in a Bond movie, and that is saying a lot because the Bond franchise is very much known for its action and being on the cutting edge with technology and the vehicles and everything that they use, the gadgets, everything. So best action scenes I've ever seen in a Bond. One of the best stories um, in the whole franchise, I would say. I'm kind of racking my brain trying to think of a better Bond story. Casino Royale was really good.
Yeah,
As
Skyfall
far
was
as
good too.
yeah, Skyfall was good stories, but I would definitely put it up there. Great story for this one. Probably the longest Bond movie
Has to be, yeah.
we've ever seen. The prologue, just the prologue itself was incredible. An
Yeah.
incredible setup for the whole movie there. And Daniel Craig ending his time as Bond in this movie. It was a great way for him to put his stamp on the Bond franchise and really put himself in the conversation of the best Bond ever. I'm not going
Yeah.
to go so far as to say the best Bond ever, but it's always been pretty much understood that Sean Connery was the best Bond. It's a conversation now.
Oh, wow. So you think he put out the little checkmate up there with this one?
Yeah, he definitely like threw down the gauntlet and exited.
B, man, what was your impression of No Time to Die?
I generally loved it. It was I will be honest in saying that with the Daniel Craig series of James Bond's movies, they've been very hit or miss for me. Casino Royale and Skyfall being way good hits. Casino Royale, I introduced us to Daniel Craig as James Bond and really showed me, I was like, oh, this guy's serious. Like, this is going to be a great series. And then just each installment kind of, way here and there, with Skyfall revitalizing the whole thing for me. But, this movie really held on its own, bringing every ounce of his character arc from the first one to this, his development as a character and everything. I just really enjoyed the way these stories led into each other to give this story its finality. And I generally think you should go see it. Like, it's a great story. Daniel Craig kills it in a role that apparently he hated so much. Like, hated this role.
Really, he hated the role.
He talked so much shit about it for a whole decade. How much he didn't want to do this movie anymore. Like the whole James Bond thing, he was over it. But then he went out and did this, and he did incredible. So
But
like,
then he even also said that he's going to be a little bit salty when he sees somebody else playing the role.
so for like all of that mumbo jumbo that he said and put out there, he did an excellent job in this movie and showed that he really did care. That no matter, this is like the Christian Bale kind of philosophy. Like, no matter how much I dislike a franchise or X, Y, and Z, I am going to be the best actor I can for each movie I can. Then and he did here, and it was incredible. So definitely should go see it. Very happy to have seen this one.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna stick with that too, man. I'm gonna say you should see this No Time to Die James Bond. I thought it was a really good story. I mean, for as long as it is, it like Sanj said, it's definitely one of the longest, if not the longest, James Bond movie or 007 movie. But I have to say, every part of it I enjoyed. There's not one part that I think that we can take out. You can cut a few minutes here and there, but at the same time, I think I like the story that they sold. The prelogue, even Sanj had mentioned, the prelogue in the beginning, it was pretty long. I would say it's about a good maybe 20,
I thought that was
minutes.
A movie by itself.
For real.
It's a great little sub, yeah.
But when the prologue ended, I looked at Brandon and was like, that's how you start a goddamn movie. So it was action-packed. A lot of your James Bond stuff. You got your devices here and there. You got the cars. You got the women. You got the story, and it's a good spy story, man. I really think there's not much you can complain about. Would I say it's something that you need to see? Like, is it one of the greats? I'm honestly debating that for this year. For this year, I definitely think it's a top 5 movie that I've seen this year so far. Maybe like at 5 or 4, but at the same time, man, it is a really good time at the theaters. I really think you should see this movie, man. It's really, really good.
I mean, before Bond, Free Guy was going to run away with it.
For real, man. Free Guy, A Quiet Place Part 2. Oh man, those 2 movies and this is pretty up there, man. But listen, we don't want to really say much because I think a lot of it is spoilers. The one more thing that I'll say about this thing is, again, Sanjay and Brandon both hinted at it, is that it is legitly a series. It is Daniel Craig's James Bond, from Casino Royale to Quantum of Solace to Skyfall to Spectre to this. They're all connected. I don't think you necessarily need to rewatch all 4 of them, but if you do, for the people who are like hardcore fans that watch all 4 movies, you're going to see the tie-ins easy. But if you haven't seen all 4, the tie-ins aren't so crazy that it's like you missed out on something, but it is something that you can catch if you watch all 4 movies. So just a heads up in case you want to see it. You don't need to watch all 4, but if you do, you'll have more of an insight of what's really going on there with Spectre and all that stuff like that. All right. So listen, that's the most we're going to say. Now we're going to get into the spoiler section and just really talk about the movie, because there's a lot of good things in this movie and a lot of stuff that was deep and a lot of things that I think are being left out on a lot of people's reviews when you listen to what they're saying about this movie. So let's go right into the spoiler section, guys. We're going to go in there and we're going to talk about the movie. Again, if you have not seen the movie, please pause us, come back to us, or if you don't care about spoilers, we're about to go in now. All right. So, Brandon, talk to me, man. What was your thoughts on this story for James Bond? Like the overall arc of this story from where it starts to where it ends there. How'd you feel?
This series, like I said, has been hit and miss for me. So going to this movie, I didn't have the highest expectations. But I would say the beginning really gave me that GoldenEye feel. I started to think back to when I watched GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan, and I'm just the beginning alone, the way he handled everything, the suave manner, even though he was pissed off about what is possibly happening at the time, just the way he handled everything in such a smooth manner, was I just got those GoldenEye vibes again. And I was like, oh, this is going to be it. This movie's going to be the jump off. From start to finish, the story was very cohesive. There are some nitpicky things here and there, with Rami Malek's villain. I have a couple quarrels with him now that I had time to settle and think about it. But just the way it went included everybody from the entire Daniel Craig series, even in reference and usage, everything. It was a final story for everybody. I thought it was really well done and executed.
Gotcha, man. Sanj, how about yourself, man? Your thoughts on like the movie from beginning to end there for you?
I will agree with everything that Brandon said, and what I'll add to it is that for it's a much different approach. It was a much different approach to Bond. The character, I feel like they challenged him in ways that Bond has never been challenged before, and just never been presented on screen before. You definitely see a story arc from Casino Royale to No Time to Die, right? That comes full circle. You see how everything was tied together, and then there's also a definitive character arc for James Bond as well, where before there was never a real character arc for James Bond. He was a very monolithic character. Like, he was who he was, and that was it. That was all. There wasn't much depth to the Bond character, other than him being, suave and debonair and a ladies' man and a super spy, right? But here you there's so much more depth to the character, and you see growth, and he's challenged in a few ways. And if there was never another Bond movie, this would have been a great way to tie it up and put it to bed.
Yeah, man. I mean, Sanj, would you say that because we got more into James Bond's true feelings, right? That's one thing that we always lacked. Like, he always had love interests, but we never had him in love with someone, where he's been going through all these things for the past few movies, including Vesper from the first, first Casino Royale. He's still like lingering a little bit with her, as trying to get, I guess, make amends with her and try to move past her. But even in this story, there's a love story here in the bottom line of it. It's not this playboy that we're used to. Do you think that made a difference for you?
It definitely made a difference.
Gotcha.
For me, because even if you just think about where we are in our lives, growing up, when we're introduced to Bond, we're young, right? And we kind of like want to be James Bond, in the sense that we want to wear fancy suits, drive nice cars, and smash a lot of women. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of everyone, you want to be James Bond if you're a heterosexual man. But where we are now, as parents and grown-ups and whatnot, like Bond, like here, he grows up. You know what I'm saying? And he becomes an adult, and that it's relatable, to that. So, like, he's still that person, right? But now there's just more to it. You find, like, all right, I've had that. Now I want, the grown up stuff too.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, I think the most thing that I hear out there from reviewers and from people who like James Bond a lot is that there is this different Bond that we're watching on film for these series, for these 5 movies, and it's a Bond that is moping around, doesn't really want to be Bond, keeps retiring or quitting from being Bond, falls in love and is moping about his love. But I think there's just something more relatable to this Bond, and I don't know how you felt about it, B.
Yeah, I mean, the Casino Royale, I think, truthfully, this is a very different Bond story that we're getting, and through this arc. When we got introduced with Pierce Brosnan, when we had Sean Connery, those Bonds, they played the same role. It was the guy that had to stop the bad guy, have a dame, just like Sanjay mentioned before. Here we have the Bond arc, starting from when he was just instated as a 00 in Casino Royale. And, Quantum of Solace, which I think Sanjay said last night, was 15 minutes after Casino Royale. Yeah. So that could have been one movie.
Yeah, but they could have just added 15 minutes to Casino Royale and packed in Quantum of Solace. All the important things from Quantum of Solace. And we could have got a better second Bond movie.
And I think the truth of the matter is, this was, and I mean, even physically, this was 2006, and Daniel Craig was 20 years younger, when he started this.
Crazy.
So
he looks it.
Right? So, like, you have a younger Bond. He's 20 years younger. He's this playboy. I just became a spy. But in this time of becoming a spy, there's trauma, and that's a real life thing that people go through. Like, yeah, this guy's a young hotshot who just became a super spy, and his first mission, he deals with betrayal from someone he just fell in love with, who then kills herself, but for a reason to have him take advantage later of, and that's trauma. You have to deal with the suicide of someone you love, and have that weighing on you. And that goes into Quantum of Solace, where that trauma wasn't given time for him to kind of think about it, breathe about it. He had to jump into something else right away. Yeah. Then in the other two movies between Skyfall and Spectre, Skyfall opens up with him getting shot, because he's still facing trauma over, this is what my job is, and this is what my job's entitling me to do. Like, I have to keep going through all these things, and I don't know if this is what I really wanted to sign up for. So in Skyfall, he got an out. She shot him, and he took it as an out. He was like, fuck it. If they think I'm dead, I don't have to do this anymore. But then taking that time to heal allowed him to see more trauma of his past. And, that stepped into the Spectre role where he realized his adopted brother was the villain. Now my family is the trauma. So then that all leads to this, where we have an older Bond, 20 years, who never got to work through his traumas as a young adult. And he's living through them. He has betrayal issues now where he falls in love with Madeline, but can't fully trust her because if anything pops up, he doesn't know how to handle it. So, we have an older guy who never got to work through his trauma and has to save the world.
Yeah, so Sanj, who needs a psych more, him or Batman?
Now that since we're going to get into it, one of the things I can say about the story is that after watching, right after the movie, watching No Time to Die, I'm like, did we just see the Dark Knight story again? Kind of. Yeah,
it felt a little Dark Knight-ish. Yeah, definitely some good scenes. Let's talk about like the action in the movie, because I think that's one of the things was top notch, especially like you guys said, the prologue to before the movie really gets into it. The whole Italy scene, with the fake, well, not the fake bombing, because it really was a bombing there, where it was pretty much a trap to get James Bond to not trust Madeline, with the explosion there at Vesper's grave, and the whole getaway with the motorcycle going upstairs and on the walls being
that was
chased.
The most Bondliest Bond moment I've
Yep. The Bondliest Bond that ever bonded.
and definitely up for manliest shit I've seen on the screen this year is the nominee of I think we've seen this in the trailers pretty much, where the car is being shot up in Italy and he's not even blinking, phasing, nothing. He's just like thinking about what to do. And he looks at Madeline and he goes, "All right." Just the crazy.
I kind of wanted him to say something like, "My turn."
Yeah.
He was just so pissed. He wasn't even mad about the people shooting him. He was mad at her. He was so mad
exactly. He was,
and for no reason.
Yeah, and you know what? Daniel Craig acted it. He acted it so well. He performed it so well, because all that's going on outside, and he does not give one flying fuck about what's going on outside the car. He's just really pissed off at this broad inside of the car.
How do they know we're here? How do they know we're here?
I guess we all have our secrets, don't we? We just didn't get to yours. Come on.
Oh man.
I feel like they could have. I feel like they could have shot the whole time and run out of bullets before anything happened to that car. I feel like he just started shooting them up just to get away. But they could have just shot the whole time. He'd be like, "So we're gonna talk about this?"
And you know what it was? It really felt like how an argument with your wife feels like. It's like so much else can be going on. Like so much. Like it doesn't matter what's going on. When you pissed, you just pissed, and you just want to address the issue that you're pissed about right now. I don't care if people are shooting at us outside. We're talking about this right now. We're talking about the fact that you left your shoes dirty over there after I had just cleaned the whole house.
For real, man. It felt real. It felt too real.
It felt real as hell. Real as hell.
So listen, we're from this scene of this getaway in Italy. We get to again. We're talking about how Bond has this mistrust of Madeline here, and Sanj is gonna call the 3-pointer right now because he's claiming he saw something in early on that ruined the movie a little bit for him because he said predictable, but
I don't know.
Bond
Because she made it so clear.
oh, it wasn't clear for me. But anyway, Bond puts Madeline on the train and she makes some kind of a gesture.
All right, so if y'all get to if y'all out there get to watch the Bond again, right? Get to watch the movie, as we will obviously get to watch it again, because we have our subscription. We can go to the movies anytime we want, right? So he puts her on the train, and when the door closes, she immediately grabs her abdomen, right? It was a little high on her abdomen. I'll give you that. However, this is an old trope that they always do in movies. When women are pregnant, the first thing they do is they touch their stomach. Right? So right there, and then right in the prior to that, when they were in the hotel room, she started talking about the future. Right? Now it's not clear at this point if they're married or not, but it's inconsequential. They're together. Right? That's the point. And she starts talking about the future. And right there, it's like she's like, well, if we're gonna have a future, for us to have a real future, you've got to let go of Vesper, and you've got to forgive, and this and that and the other and all that. So she's clearly thinking in a family way, like we're gonna be together for like forever, and like there's something prompting her to do this, right? I'm like, all right, this chick is pregnant, because she's trying to get him to let go and be present for her, right?
Gotcha.
That was a giveaway there. So basically, once they introduced the Heracles, right? So clearly, so she's pregnant, and he sent her on her way, and now they introduced the Heracles, and they explain what Heracles does. I'm like, I knew the whole movie. I knew exactly how the movie was going to end. As soon as, because now, okay, it has to do with art. It's going to be involve him, her, and a kid, and there's going to be a decision to make, and somehow, and at that point, I'm like, okay, it's going to be something that's going to be choosing between them and saving the world. And when they introduced the Heracles, then I knew exactly what was going to happen, because when they explain how Heracles works, and then Q says, oh, well, now I realized, oh, it can kill your family members too, not just you. Or it can kill the family members of the people that it was intended to, once you share DNA, whatever. Like, he modified it. So I'm just like, great. So Bond's infected with this shit now, and they're going to program it to Madeline and the kid, and he's going to have to, like, not be able to be with them. Like,
great.
And
story over.
No, but that's just it. Like, as good as the stories are, right? They fall back on these tropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
To basically justify how things play out. But they do it in such an obvious way. It's like, all right, you just gave away everything, though.
Yeah.
Like,
how about for you, B? The same thing. They gave it away for you too.
I mean, I caught on to the pregnancy thing, and when they did the Heracles, just the way they're talking about, like Sanj said, it was just like, oh, this virus is non-stoppable, it's eternal. Once you get it, you have it, and they said you could pass it on to your relatives, or it can be coded to be working differently. And I'm like, all right. So at some point, one of these people is gonna get it, and like someone important is gonna get it, and they're either gonna die or they're gonna be sacrificed, something, right? Because I was like, Q, as they've in this Bond series, they've been putting Q as like, he's a smart guy, but he's not the smartest guy. That's what they put him as. And so I'm like, he's not going to be the guy to figure it out. Like, he's not doing the breakthrough in this movie. So like, I just had to narrow it down to once the kid came on, I'm like, all right, one of these people is getting it. And I didn't want to believe it was Bond, because you don't kill James Bond, but in the story of it just worked out better that Daniel Craig had it. That leads me to my point, though, is that's why I didn't like Rami Malek's character.
Right. So just
bring it, B. Let it go. Go with it. Run with that right now, kid.
So I gotta pause for my viewers really quick. I think I made like a Mandela effect, watching this movie. For those of you who don't know what a Mandela effect is, it's that at some point our universe and another universe crashed in and something switched. Like, I remember Nelson Mandela being killed in prison, but obviously that didn't happen. Or I also remember a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad, but apparently it was a movie named Kazam starring Shaq. I saw the Sinbad version, but it doesn't exist. So like there's things like that that's called the Mandela effect, where we see things or we've seen things in the past and we relate it to something. So I recall like years ago that I had seen a movie where Rami Malek was the villain. He wore a mask and he had a messed up face underneath. And I could have swore it was Quantum Solace.
Right.
I could have swore it was Quantum Solace. I'm like, oh, they brought him back. It's cool how they brought all the Bond villains back. And you're like, this is his first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I was like, I've seen this. And then when they went to the room where he had the little girl, I was like, no, that's the same flooring. I said, but in the movie I saw, he was wearing a red shirt. So if anybody knows this movie where Rami Malek was the villain, because apparently this is his first movie playing a villain, which no, this is the second. You got to let me know, because I was tripping over this last night. I swear this has happened before. I swear he was already a Bond villain. But Rami Malek's Bond villain, I think he did a great job in his portrayal of a villain for the second time. But it just seemed like his whole purpose was to give Bond the virus. And that was very cliche. Because like he could have did worse things, and they're saying like he's the worst Bond villain of them all, like in terms of like being physically the worst one. But like I think it's very, just like Sanjay mentioned before about the Heracles and all that, like it's very spy movie trope where the villain serves a purpose, and their purpose is to inflict something, for the sake of having that plot. And so his whole point in this entire movie was to give James Bond the virus. Like that, it just narrowed down to that. And I feel like there was so much more that could have been done with him, especially as like big and looming as he was throughout the movie. His only moment was that.
Right, because I think the first main plot with his was to destroy Spectre.
Yeah.
Because Spectre had an involvement with the killing of his family. So then after that, it was like, well, you got your revenge.
But it seemed like he was doing it all to get closer to Bond. Like, it just seemed like, especially the whole Spectre thing when he killed all the Spectre people, it was to save Bond. Like, yeah, they killed his family, so I'm going to kill Spectre.
Well,
but
no. The Spectre thing, he
we lost Sanjay.
Sanjay got taken out by the villain.
Spectre got him.
Spectre got Sanjay.
What's up?
Oh
yeah. We froze for a little bit. All right. So no. So getting Spectre, that was M's plan. He was the one that developed the Heracles, and he was the one that came. That's why he did not want Bond involved in going to Havana to deal with Spectre.
But in that scene, when they had the guy that did the viruses, he had the computer chips. He had the computer chip he was supposed to put in was just to target Bond because they knew he was going to be there. But he switched it out.
Well, that's what Spectre thought. That was M's whole thing. Like he pulled a double cross on Spectre, where the scientist that M was working with he had all the information that he needed to take out Spectre. So it was his job to flip it. So that was M.
No, because he wasn't working for M at that point. He was working with the guy who was working with the American CIA that ended up being the double agent.
Yeah.
So they kind of like flipped it.
So that's why I felt like he did it just save Bond and took out the Spectre people for him. But it seemed like the whole thing was for him to get closer to Bond. Like that, it just seemed like I'm about Bond. And then it got to that whole point at the end, and I'm like, all right, what's this whole thing? And then all of a sudden,
I honestly don't think Bond was on his radar because of the fact that until Bond started to come after him,
right?
But like Bond wasn't on his radar. That's why it was
so confusing to me about him, because like it seemed like I completely agree with you. Like it seemed like it had nothing to do with each other until the end of the movie, but it seemed like everything he was doing was for Bond, and I was like, I'm so confused by it. Like when the more I think about it, I get more confused because of that Spectre scene alone. How cool it was, but it seemed he did it for Bond, but he didn't really give a shit about Bond until the end of the movie. So I'm like, why did he do that for Bond then? Just kill the guy too. So like I didn't get it. Like it just started getting me more confused because it seemed like they were trying to do this whole like that whole relationship thing where Bond and him are like, you know, the perfect adversaries to each other.
Right.
Yeah, but they didn't really have a conflict.
Exactly.
Until
they didn't have,
like Bond showed up at his house and he's like, all right, I need to
He
get
was
my
just
shit.
in the way. Bond was in the way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's what got me, because it was like it was building up that we're the perfect adversaries for each other, but you're not really consequential to me until the end of the movie. So like I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
I got you, man. Now, we got past like the beginning part, and like some of the stuff that like we guys were saying was like kind of foreshadowed in the scenes there. What do you guys think of the other actors in this movie? You know, we have the guy who plays the Watcher.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright was in there as the CIA agent from all the other movies in there. We got
Casino
M, we
Royale.
got Q, we got Moneypenny, and we also have Madeline's character as well. How did you guys feel about those characters in this movie? I think everybody pretty much came to show up and do their thing. Any disappointment signs with anybody?
I wasn't disappointed. I mean, I was disappointed with Rami Malek's character. I was not disappointed with Rami Malek's performance, though. Like Rami Malek always brings it. Like he's just one of those guys. Like you're never gonna see him you're never gonna be able to say Rami Malek performed badly. You're gonna say Rami Malek had a poor script to work with and killed it anyway, right? you might say some shit like that, or or Rami Malek carried this movie. Or whatever. You'll definitely say some stuff like that, but his performance was great. I wasn't upset by anybody's performance. Even the guy who played M. Usually he was just a prop character. And even in this one, he had so much more depth as well. Like the exchange with him and Bond. Like I really thought at the beginning there that M might be the villain.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
In this all, because it looked like he was trying to, cover, one, he created Heracles, and we're just gonna gloss over how he killed a lot of people to get Heracles out as well. Like he was the one that did all that. We're just gonna gloss over that he killed.
We could say that M killed Bond, basically.
Yeah, basically. But anyway, and then was basically keeping information from the prime minister and stuff like that. But we'll gloss over that for now. But definitely the exchanges between M and Bond, especially those moments when they kind of broke protocol, and and Bond called him Mallory instead of M.
Yeah.
And he doesn't call him M because his name is Mallory. He calls him M because that's the title that they give the leader of MI6, right? M.
Yeah.
Quartermaster is Q, right? M for manager, right? Q for quartermaster, right? Like that's how they give out their titles. But there's a few times in the dialogue when he broke, he's like, Mallory, like shut the fuck up, like stop, like, and you could just see like there's real human conflict between the two of them. So, and they both handled the acting those parts out very, very well. I was disappointed that oh my gosh, and I don't know the actress's name that played 007.
Lashana Lynch.
Lashana Lynch. Thank you very much. She was great. She was great as 007.
So.
But I feel like they kind of rolled her out, rolled her away, rolled her out, rolled her away. Like she could have not been in the movie, and it really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But when she was doing what she was doing, she was great at it. So I think they wasted her performance as well, and they could have done a lot more with her performance. Especially when she kind of made a big deal out of what number, when they reinstated Bond, what number they were going to give him. Like the confidence that she portrayed on when she entered onto the scene in the movie, that betrayed that confidence. And all right, making a joke one time and saying, all right, excuse me, what number are you giving him? Saying it one time would have been a great joke in Bond fashion. But then when she continued with it, I'm like, come on, why are you doing that? Why are they doing that to her? She doesn't care. She doesn't care about her number. She knows that he cares about the number. You know,
Yeah, they went for comedic effect when they should have just kept it to the character there.
right.
Yeah.
One time would have been fine for the comedic effect, but whatever. And then in the middle of it, when she's like, all right, you know, reinstate him as 007. Permission to give him 007? Come on, man. Like we got bigger shit to worry about than what you know, everybody is being
He
designated.
just had to die being known as 007.
I
That was the
get
whole
that.
point
I
of
get
that.
it.
That was it. That was it. That was the only thing I got.
But they also give out medals of honor after people have died. Like you could have given him back 007 after he died. That would have been just fine. You know what I'm saying? But no, everybody else's performance was everyone's performance was good. I just felt like a couple of characters could have been used a lot better, which means Remy Malek and Lashana Lynch's character could have been used better.
Gotcha. How about for you, B? How were all the actors and characters in the story for you? You liked everything you saw and heard?
Yeah, I thought everyone was great. You know, even I forget his name. He played the CIA agent, the double crosser. I think it was Billy Morganson or something. Mortensen. Like
Gotcha.
he like as the gleeful CIA agent who's like a newbie on the job. Like he was funny. Like I really enjoyed that. Anna de Armas, holy crap, she was incredible.
Yes,
in
yes.
the one scene that she was in. Like she was so good in that scene. Like
Absolutely.
I was hoping she would come back towards the end of the movie to be a part of the mission, but I understand why. But her role, just alone in that 20-minute scene, was incredible. Loved it.
Yeah, she kicked ass. She definitely was not training for 6 weeks. That's a little bit longer than that. There was a lie somewhere in there, but
no, but you know what? She was refreshing in a way. She was just kind of like unassuming, and she was just like, "Oh, you're here," you know, like
yeah.
You know, she really didn't. Yeah, she really didn't take herself
unaware of her job. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I thought was cool was the fact that she wasn't a love interest or some fling that he had real quick. She was there to do her job. She did her job well. I'll see you later, Bond. You owe me a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
That was awesome, man. They definitely kicked some ass in that scene, including Lashana Lynch handling business. The three of them. That scene was amazing over there. And, you know, in regards to Lashana Lynch's character, I thought she did a great job. And I really did appreciate what she was doing in the movie. I think she deserved more screen time, maybe more part of the story, especially towards the end of the movie, because she's a 007 as well. But, you know, I appreciated that they had her in the movie and the role she played. They were kind of like egging each other on and then helping each other at the end to get the job accomplished there. So I thought that was really cool. I just think the story itself was just amazing. Again, long. This movie was 2.5 hours long, almost 3 hours long?
Like 240 actually.
I mean, it was long, but there's not something that I would completely take out of this movie. Everything in it was just a great story altogether, man. I really enjoyed it there. So listen, if for the sake of time, we're going to go to like the real meaty stuff of the discussion here with this movie. Let's talk right away now about the ending of this movie. You know, Sanj,
before we do that, I will say that like I felt it when Felix died. Like that was sad. That was
it was the arc of the brother, you know, like his one real brother.
Yeah,
so,
like
that was
the one person that he could always trust. Like Felix never lied to him. Felix never betrayed him. Like, and everybody else, even Madeline, like she still lied to him at about stuff. She still kept stuff from him. Even M, like, you know, was shady at times. Everybody else was shady at times, right?
Yeah.
Except Felix. That's the only person he could have pointed to and said, "That's my dude." You know.
Yeah, man.
So I felt it when he had to like leave him, like that, and that scene between the two of them when, you know, Felix is like, "Yo, go," and then when Bond just looks at him, he's like, "All right." He even doesn't even say okay. He just shakes his head like, oh, he's like realizing like I have to let him go. Like I have to go. You know.
Yeah, man.
And it was that was like a deep, that was a lot.
Absolutely, man. Now, what's it called? In the end there, we get the ending of this movie, which is the choice, like you guys said, was pretty much hinted at once we got the virus and the DNA thing. And, you know, we're all kind of realizing, because Madeline originally says, this is not your child. He's like,
we all know that's a lie.
But
that was found to be a lie.
He's like, but her eyes. And she's like, yeah, no, it's not your child. And, you know, it turns out it is his child and everything. You know, we've realized that we've come to a point where there is a choice to be made. You know, does he try to stop what's happening, or does he risk his life for the world? I guess it is. And he makes the choice, you know what I mean? Because he knows he can't not be with the family. Even if he's alive somehow, some way, he still can't be with this new family that he's created. And it's just kind of crazy and nuts. Bree, what was your take about the choice to, for the first time I think ever, to kill off James Bond?
You know, the scene presented itself very well. As much as I hated the Rami Malek moment there, the second it happened, you knew where they were going. You know, the second the thing shut again, you know, and he had 4 minutes left and Q is begging him to get out of there. This is James Bond, and James Bond doesn't leave a mission incomplete. You know, James always has to see a mission through. And so he knew that for the betterment, and you could even say that those two were his world, you know, and for him to die knowing that they can survive, he had saved the world. So, you know, when he went back up into the room and started doing the switch, you know, I'm like, okay, this is it. This is his moment. Like, that's that. And I think for this arc of James Bond movies, I think it is the thing that makes the most sense. Like, from start to finish, you knew this wasn't going to be James Bond happy story. You know, from where we started in Casino Royale to where we ended up, this was a story of trauma. This is a story of pain. This was a story of a man who was going to be haunted by his past in every sort of the balance. So, you know, why stop at the past when you can set up a bright future for someone else? So I thought that was a really, really great sentiment to the character of James Bond and for Daniel Craig. So I really did respect that choice.
Gotcha. Now, Sanj, I know you're a big fan of 007, you know, besides Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, and, you know, Sean Connery. You're a viewer of these 007 movies, a reader of these 007 stories. What's your take with them killing off James Bond?
If they had to kill James Bond, this was the only appropriate way to do it. You know, it had to be, there had to be so much on the line, you know, for him to do it. Like, because to be fair, he's gone up against bigger stuff, you know, and come out of it okay, right? But this is the one thing, like, okay, so now the choice is made when he had the opportunity to escape with his family. You know, that was the most important thing to him in that moment, right? And because when he was talking with Rami Malek, he was saying, like, look, we guys like us, we never had a chance. Everything was taken from us before we even had a chance to get started, right? And here he is, he gets his chance, right, with Madeline and his child, right? Like the scene when he has with Madeline, when he tells her, like, you know, my whole life, you know, the 5 minutes that I had with you was the best part of my life, and I don't regret anything that happened to lead me to you, except when I put you on that train. And remember, they said 5 years passed, so that's 5 years. Imagine what's going through his mind at that point. He knows right now he made a mistake in that moment, and he's missed 5 years with his child that he didn't even know he had. But this is what he was missing. He never had the family. He never had these things, and he did it to himself, right? Yeah. Because of his own flaws, his own failings, right? And he let this child be there alone, the way he was alone, right? And he had that moment where he got them back, and he could have easily said, you know what, I've done enough, and I'm out. I'm going with my child, and we would have all understood, and we would have been said, you know what, James, you made the right decision. And they could have wrote the story where the new 007 comes in and saves, and she saves the day, right?
Right.
And it hands it off that way. That could have been a way to have the story go, right? Yeah. I wouldn't have been mad at that either. But if you're going to kill James Bond, that's how you have to do it. You have to get him so close to having everything, right? It has to be right there in front of him, and he has to make the choice.
Yeah.
Right?
That's deep, man.
And then making that choice and then getting that close. It's like, you know what? I was that close to it, but now me coming back, I can't be with you guys and not be a threat to you. That's the point. So I have to die. That's the only way.
Whew, man.
So I
Right?
should have told him the title of the movie.
I'm telling you, listen, when I saw this thing playing out in the theaters, man, I was like, this is tough. This is tough, man. This is good stuff. Well written story because everything was believable, everything made sense. Just a real overall good story, man. Good movie, man.
But you almost wanted Bond to have a happy ending, didn't you? Like
Of
it's
course.
like just trauma upon trauma upon trauma. You know what I'm saying? And like it has to end with, bitter. It's not even bittersweet. It's just sad.
Right. Because even at the end, we get the car ride with the mom, with Madeline and the baby, and she says, "I want to tell you a story about Bond,
And then the
James
baby,
Bond."
she smiled. I mean, what did you guys think of the decision to have him have a daughter as opposed to a son?
I think equivalent. Honestly, if it had been a son, it would have been like, okay.
She's the real Bond girl.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think either way, there's almost like I feel like a story coming where she becomes a 007 herself eventually one day. And because of Lashana Lynch being a 007, I know that it's something that's possible and doable now. So maybe in the future we get that. But oh man, either way, man, that ending was deep. It was tough. It was, like I said, man, well written, well played, sir. Yes, well
So
played,
now,
sir.
how would you guys feel, or how are you going to feel when they reboot the Bond series, and if they bring back just like, all right, it's another Bond, like this is just a reboot of Bond, and okay, here he is alive again, right? Because we've had several iterations of Superman, of Batman, of our superheroes, and we're all like, all right, cool, this is just a new guy playing the role, but they've never killed Batman, they've never really killed Superman. They brought him back as the same guy, but you get the idea. And like previously, I thought the Bond movies were like a continuity, but what I've come to understand is that every person that they've picked to play Bond is like that that version of Bond, and it's a multiverse. Then, so this was just one take on it, because at first I thought with Casino Royale going back to, because that's the actual
beginning,
the beginning of Bond. So what they were doing is that they were saying, all right, this is how he became Bond. And so you have Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. All the other Bond movies happen, and now we come back to Skyfall, right? Like he's had all those other adventures, with the being, as the other guys playing Bond, right? And then now we're at Skyfall. So that I thought that was the continuity, but that is not the case.
Yeah, and that's how I've always thought of the 007 movies, that they're all stories of his adventures or missions or accomplishments and things like that. But after we left this theater, and when I think about these 5 movies for Daniel Craig, I kind of see it, and damn you MCU for putting this terminology in my head now, that this is a multiverse kind of James Bond thing where the Sean Connery James Bond is just his own James Bond. This Daniel Craig James Bond is his own James Bond and has nothing to do with Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan or GoldenEye.
Right. This is it's its own thing. It's
And Judi Dench played M twice.
Right. So how do we feel? Like how if they reboot the Bond series and bring in a man to play James Bond as 007? How will we feel knowing that Bond is dead? Like the last time we saw him, he got killed.
Yeah.
I think it's about the story and what they do with it, because correct me if I'm wrong, No Time to Die. No, sorry, no. What was it? Pierce Brosnan's last one.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies, right? That was 2002. This one, the new Casino Royale, came out 2006, right? So 4 years, give or take, between 2 new Bonds. And I know this Bond has died, but I think if 4 years from now we get a new Bond story with somebody else, I think it's all about the take. I think it's the same kind of retrospect. I mean, I know it's not the same, but the Mission Impossible movies, where it's still Ethan and we still have, it's the same guy, but it's been the span of 30 years now with Mission Impossible.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise doesn't age, so
this is. But like, I feel like, the fact that even though the Mission Impossible stories relatively keep a lot of the same story and characters, they've grown and had different characters come in, and his relationships have grown with different people. So I think if a new Bond comes in, it would be almost as if having a new Mission Impossible, where you have a new Bond who has a new story. And, we think about the old Bond and where they left off, but with the knowledge that this is a brand new Bond.
Yeah, that's how I'll take it. Like I said, the new multiverse, Earth 616 Bond, who plays with the who plays with the Avengers. This is a different Bond.
Or is this, what a lot of people have gotten on the Bond series for, being, out of touch and misogynistic and things like that. Was this a way to really put the character to bed, and carry on the world of James Bond with new characters?
Maybe, man, it's funny you say that, because I was going to ask you guys this question here. Because of the way they ended this movie, are you guys more, again, like, Sanjay just kind of asked, are you guys more open to a new franchise of James Bond, a new set of stories? Because this new Bond will play, Bond for 15 years, just like Daniel Craig did. Or would you want to continue from where we left off here with Lashana Lynch as the new 007? And give her a chance to shine as 007. What's your thoughts on that, Sanj?
I would much rather that at this point that they continue where we left off and give Lashana Lynch her time to shine, because they've made it now so that there is a continuity, right? And Lashana Lynch can shine as 007 while Madeline and James's child grows up and potentially becomes Bond.
Gotcha. How about you, B, man? Same thing, Lashana Lynch as 007?
I mean, I take it two ways. Like these movies are called 007, right? So I think in the same retrospect, like Sanjay, you can continue on with Lashana Lynch because she's 007. This is the story of 007, essentially. Now,
Right.
if they want to go the route where this is a 007, but this is the story of James Bond, then you could, you could have another character. You can gender swap the character. You can race swap the character all you want, as long as you make it some kind of Bond, whether you change to James, Jamie, whatever sense of the word, of the name, I guess. But I think if this is a 007 story, then you can continue it, you can change it, you can do whatever you want, because at the end of the day, it's about whoever takes the role of 007.
Gotcha.
So they're gonna have to make the split. They might have to fight the fan base on it. Is this a story of 007 or is this a story of James Bond?
Gotcha. So then the last question for tonight, fellas, and Sanj, I'll hit you up first on this one. There's some rumors right now of who they're thinking about to be James Bond in the next iteration that they make. And we have 5 choices right now of male characters that they want or they're thinking about in case they don't give Lashana Lynch a role of being a 007. We have Reggie Jean Page from Bridgerton, that's on Netflix there. Idris Elba, who's kind of saying he doesn't want to do it anymore, but they still may be an option there. We got Tom Hardy, Richard Madden from the Game of Thrones series, and Cillian Murphy, fame of Scarecrow in Batman. But would you rather see one of those guys, or is there somebody else you would want to see in that role, Sanj?
Out of those 5, the only 2 that I could legitimately see as Bond is Idris Elba and Richard Madden. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Right. But I think Chiwetel, he might have gotten a little a little old for the role, but I think Chiwetel Ejiofor could also be a good Bond as well. He could play the role very well. I mean, he'd be very different than Daniel Craig, but I think he has the chops to, because Daniel Craig was like a bruiser. Like this is like a bruising, brawling Bond, right? We've never seen like a Bond like this before, and I think Chiwetel could bring back some of the refinement to the Bond role, as well as being able to brawl when needed.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what Idris would do as well, but he's
Mhm.
kind of an obvious choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then Richard Madden, I think, could play your more classic Bond, an aristocratic type of Bond. So depending on what type of story you were doing, like if you wanted to make him more of like a counterintelligence type, and he's
Mhm.
heavy into devices and technology, like that would be your Bond for that. But if you want to keep having a brawling Bond, you need Idris or Chiwetel, like guys like that. And Tom Hardy would be a bruiser, but he just, to me, he just doesn't look the part.
Gotcha. Yeah. If you're gonna ask me, man, this guy, man, Reggie Jean Page from Bridgerton, the guy's handsome, man. You put that guy
He's
in a
too pretty. Like,
tuxedo,
I'm sorry, he's too pretty.
He's
To
very
be Bond.
pretty. He's very pretty.
Yeah.
dude. You put that guy in a tuxedo, man. Come on.
It's disrespectful, but
Oh
I
man.
just think he's too pretty and too aristocratic. Like I can't not see him as the Duke from Bridgerton. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
How about you, Brandon, man? Reggie Jean, Idris, Tom Hardy, Richard Madden, or Cillian Murphy?
I don't know. Like I once again, it's just the nature of James Bond, but
Mhm.
there is a look that a James Bond has, right? Pierce Brosnan had the look, Sean Connery had the look, had the look, right? There's a look, and I'm not trying to put it out there with gender roles and this or that, or masculinity, misogynist roles, but there is just a look that I think of when I see a James Bond.
Mhm.
Idris has the look, but I don't think Idris should be Bond. I think Idris should have been Bond a decade ago. A decade ago, I think would have been the most appropriate for him. But now, I'm not so sure. He has the Bond look, but I can't think of one male actor right now that has the Bond look.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, if we were ever to go down a female Bond route, Lupita Nyong'o, I think would make an incredible 007.
Mm.
Like if we were to reboot the franchise, and we got rid of, and as much as I wanted, who we have as 007 now, if they were to reboot the franchise and they had a female James Bond or whatever sense 007, I think Lupita Nyong'o would be a great one.
Oh, Jamie Bond, bring it. That's awesome stuff, man. Yeah, listen, bottom line, I was so close, Sanj, so close to saying you need to see this, but there's something, a part of me that just said, nah, you should see it because it's involved, it's a long movie and all this stuff like that, but I don't know, man. I like the movie. I really liked it. The more I think about it, I like it. I don't know, man. Maybe I can be talking.
It's gonna be a fun night out, no matter what. I would say you should see it.
Yeah, definitely you should see it, man. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm also a Bond fan, so it's like if you're,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And the fact that a Bond fan actually liked this movie, man, I love it, man. I love it.
It didn't get ahead of itself. The other one.
No. Yeah, man.
I think and that's what Quantum of Solace suffered from. It tried to be too smart for itself.
Way over its head.
Like they started talking about like, well, oil is a resource, but it's really gonna be water. Like, come on, this is not what Bond is about. Like, come on, these are not the messages for Bond. Yes.
Just shaken, not stirred, guys. That's
exactly.
Man, well, listen, that's gonna be us for tonight, man. I thank Sanj and B coming out talking about Bond, man. We loved this movie last night, man. It was pretty good. And listen, just in case you guys don't know, next week we're going to be talking about either, I believe Halloween Kills comes out this week. There's another movie, man, with Adam Driver. I think The Last Duel with Matt Damon.
Yes, The Last Duel.
Yes. That comes out this week. So we may watch one.
That movie looks like it's going to be intense.
Yeah, that's going to be probably a best picture winner right there. But that was coming out, and then also, if you guys don't know, listen, if you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, more than likely you love movies and comic book movies just like we do. DC Fandom is coming out on Saturday, I believe. So Saturday, if you can, go to DC Fandom, that's Fandome, and log in and sign up to be given access to the videos that are going to be coming out on Saturday. I think there's going to be a trailer for Black Adam. There's going to be a new trailer for the Batman, a trailer for the Flash. God knows what else they're going to talk about there. So we'll try to watch what we can for the DC Fandom.
They're making us wait so long for the fucking Batman. Like
March is coming. Yeah, man. So we'll probably talk about whatever is amazingly going crazy the world is about whatever comes out of the fandom there or one of those movies there. So definitely come back next week. If you're not a subscriber to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. If you are listening to us on the podcast app, hit the little plus symbol to make sure that we come up for you every week and you can hear us talk about movies, movie news, and trailers. All right. So coming out of Long Island, New York, we got my brother B.
Adios, everybody.
We got my man Sanj.
Good night, everybody, and be safe out there.
And myself, Hav, saying thank you again. Thank you for listening, for subscribing, and for just constantly keeping us motivated to keep making these videos and making these podcasts for you guys. So thank you again. We'll catch you next week. DC Fandom. Until next time.